Hi besties, welcome or welcome back. Welcome to another episode of trying to finish all of the series I'm in the middle of. Because if you are new here, hi, welcome. My name's Regan. I am a chronic series starter and I don't finish those series. And there's literally no other way to put it. I like to start a million series and then I don't continue them, or I get so far in and I just don't finish them. So in these videos I like to basically just try and get through as many books or as many series as possible, and that's essentially just the premise of what we're going to be doing this week. Now, first things first, the last video you saw was my very ambitious May TBR. I was so unsuccessful, it's actually uncanny. I read one book off my May TBR, and I read one book in May, period. And that book is Redeeming Six by Chloe Walsh, the fourth book in the Boys of Tommen series. That was the only book I read in May. I have no explanation. It's now the 3rd of June, and I have successfully read one more book, which is Taming Seven. That series, as predicted, has taken over my whole life. I said it from the second I picked up Binding 13 that series was going to take over my life. I was in fact correct. I have thought about nothing else. I have done nothing else but read that series. I can't remember the last time I read a book that wasn't in that series. And I can't remember a cohesive thought in my brain that didn't revolve around that series. So, all of that to say, kickstarting this video, I have Releasing 10. Now, this book is, first of all, huge. I think it's the biggest one in the series so far. I also think, from what I've been seeing online, it's going to be the most devastating book in the whole series. And I'm scared. I'm so scared. Because I know this book's going to break my heart. I don't know what I'm going to do when I finish this because we don't have a release date for another book. This book only came out like a week, 2 weeks ago. So I feel like this is going to be an emotional roller coaster, and I'm really scared to pick it up, but I feel like I can't do anything but read this book. Mostly because if I see one more spoiler for this book on TikTok, I'm going to riot. Because I finished Taming Seven last night and I wanted to do a little TikTok deep dive and look at some Taming Seven spoiler videos. And every single video was about this book. So I now have had a lot of spoilers for this book and I'm getting so angry, and I feel like if I don't read it now, I'm basically going to know the whole premise of the book by the end of the week. So the first series I will be completing is the Boys of Tommen series. Absolutely terrified. I might not continue this video after reading this book. This might just be a Releasing 10 reading vlog. We will see. But I do have some other books on my agenda. I have The Right Move by Liz Tom Ford. This is the second book in the Windy City series. I think we all know my feelings on Mile High. I hated that book. I didn't get very far into it. I think I got 100 pages in, DNF'd it, could not physically read another page of that misogynistic man. So we're going to try again. But I know this one is a lot of people's favourites, so I'm excited to try this series again. Hopefully this series isn't just a write-off for me and Mile High was just a dud. So this is another one that's potentially on my radar for this week. Then I have Lost and Lassoed by Lila Sage, the third book in the Rebel Blue Ranch series. I always get this series mixed up with Elsie Silver. Yes, Rebel Blue Ranch. This is the third book. This one's following Teddy and Gus. This is my most anticipated read from this whole series. It is a 5-star prediction. I'm very excited for it. It's also so cute and teeny tiny and fun. And I feel like it'll be a good little palate cleanser after Releasing 10. Then I have Bad Blood by... who is this by? Jennifer Lynn Barnes. This is the final book in the Natural series. I love this series. I'm not a huge fan of young adult books anymore. I'm 25. I'm not a young adult anymore, so young adult romance books tend to not really hit the spot all that much for me anymore. But this series is incredible. I would describe it as Criminal Minds meet young adult, meet love triangle, meet kind of traumatizing but also kind of fun. Basically just following a group of teenagers who have been hired by the FBI to solve cold cases. They're no longer solving cold cases, they are very much involved in the investigation process. They get up to some trouble, there's some romances going on. It's just overall very entertaining, very quick to read, very fun. And this is the last one, and I've been putting it off for a very long time because I love this series, and again, I don't want it to be over, and that is why I'm in the middle of so many series, because I get to the last one, don't want to read it because then it's done. You know what I mean? As I said, I don't know if I will read Release in 10 and then decide not to continue this video, so if this is a Release in 10 reading vlog, very sorry for showing you all of those books and then not reading them, but we will see. I'm gonna go and mentally prepare myself to start this book. Very excited, very scared, also very high on caffeine right now, so I feel like I'm kind of bouncing off the walls and I need to chill a little bit. So I will see you when I have started reading this book. I will be back with some thoughts. Probably the next clip you see will be me bawling my eyes out, and there's nothing I can do about that. Okay, it's now a few days later. I'm 421 pages into Releasing 10. I think for this one I'm gonna save majority of my thoughts until I've finished the book, because I have a lot of thoughts. A lot. And I don't know if any of those opinions will change by the time I finish this one. But as of right now, all I'm going to say is this one is a lot darker than the other books for me personally. The topics covered in this are, for the most part, kind of similar to some of the topics covered in the other books. Yes, that topic was covered in the other books, but I feel like this one goes into a lot more grave detail about what has happened to Lizzie and what she's been through. And Lizzie is obviously a character we haven't really got to know and got to understand yet. But I am going to keep all of those thoughts until I finish this book. I just wanted to say that I'm finding this one the most difficult to get through in the sense of the trigger warnings. It's a very difficult read, it's very dark, it's very triggering. And as you probably saw by some of my reactions, there are, even from the first page, there are parts of this book that are making me feel physically sick, and I have to keep putting it down because I'm having visceral reaction to what is happening. I don't know, I don't want to say too much. I obviously don't want to spoil anything because this is the 6th book in a series, but I'm going to give you more in-depth thoughts when I obviously finish it. As of right now, I'm not enjoying it because I feel like saying I'm enjoying the book when it's covering such dark topics is wrong. I'm reading it. It's written very well. Normally, if this was just cute little romance, I'd be like, yeah, I'm enjoying it, I'm having a great time. I can't say that about this book because this book is not fun. It's covering very dark topics and I don't know. I feel like I'll be back when I finish this book. 150 pages in-ish. I feel like the last maybe 100 pages have just been rinse and repeat of the same thing happening over and over again, which is like fine. It's kind of getting repetitive and I'm kind of getting a little bit bored because not a whole lot is happening, and I'm just so desperate to understand more about Lizzie and her backstory and what's going to come out of this book, and I'm not getting that right now. And we're just spending a lot of time obviously getting to know Hugh and Liz as a couple and as people, but we've just got a lot of the same thing and the same conversation happening over and over and over again, and I'm not loving it. I've just got to part 18, which is called the downward spiral, so I'm kind of thinking something quite drastic's probably gonna happen right now, but I haven't got a whole lot left, maybe 200 pages, and I just have a feeling that we are not getting a conclusion in this book. I have a feeling this is going to end more or less where Taming 7 also ended, and that's going to frustrate me so much because I really thought we would have a conclusion. We might, but as of right now I don't think we will do. I'm gonna keep reading. I would really like to finish this today because I've read a whole lot of this book. I just want to know what happens. Why is nobody telling me what's happening? I spoke way too soon. I spoke way too soon. Oh my god, I feel sick. I have been given the night off work. So I have put clean sheets on my bed. I've had a shower. I have 100 pages left. So I'm locking in. We are locking in. Locking in. I am going to finish this book today. I am not sleeping until I finish this book. Let's go. Finish releasing 10 last night, and I have a lot of thoughts and I've written them all down, so I think I'm for the most part just going to read what I've written so I can articulate my thoughts a little bit better, because I feel like for every clip that I've spoken about this book, all I've done is ramble. This has been the darkest book in the series for me so far. The topics being discussed are very triggering, very graphic and dark. I've heard a lot of people sort of umming and ahhing about whether to call this book graphic. I would say it is, depending on how you depict graphic scenes. It's very dark and the topics that are being discussed are triggering. So I would really suggest looking at the trigger warnings for this one. A lot of the topics that are in this are in previous books, but I feel like this one just is a lot darker than the others. I had to remind myself multiple times when I was reading this, particularly in the first half of the book, that these are children. And the way that they are conversing and the way things are being discussed, they are not, in my opinion, speaking like they are children. And just like the way they were talking to each other, specifically obviously Hugh and Liz, they kind of talk to each other like they are teenagers or adults, and they are not. They are 8, 9, 10 years old, and I had to keep reminding myself that they are children. And I feel like it's not really all of the time written like they are that young. I also think it was a lot harder to read because there wasn't as much comedic relief in this one as there was in Finding and Keeping 13. I feel like Gibbsy in those two books really not lightened the mood, but there was a lot of comedic relief in those books that wasn't in this. And obviously we now know what has happened to Gibbsy and why he is the way he is. And because this book lacked that comedy, it just went hand in hand with the fact that this book is a lot darker. There were multiple points in this where I had to stop reading because I felt physically sick reading about what Lizzie has gone through and what she was going through. And again, I had to remind myself, some of those scenes that were making me feel ill, she was 5 years old. And of course, it's obviously going to be upsetting reading about these topics at any age. But when I sat back and realised, oh my god, she's 5. She's a baby. It just makes you feel so sick to your stomach reading about what she's had to go through from such a young age. It was just disturbing is the only way I can think to describe it. This book made me feel so sort of disturbed and icky. But I think it's important for me to say that yes, while these are fictional characters and this is a story, this is unfortunately what people have to go through. And I know it's horrible to think about, but when people keep saying, oh, it's too graphic and it doesn't match the vibes of the other books, this is somebody's story. This is what people have to go through. And I think you have to remind yourself of that when you're reading this book. Yes, this is a story, but it's somebody's story. Somebody is going through this. And I think it's very important to shed light on that and to make it known to people that this is what happens. And I think it is important that you read the trigger warnings, because if the contents in this book is something that is going to make you upset and it's going to affect you mentally, then I urge you to do your research or to not read the book. It's that simple. If you are going to lash out at an author and say that her books are too triggering, her books are too graphic, or that it's being discussed in such a such way, you have to remind yourself that you are choosing to read this book, you are choosing to consume the content that is written in this, and that is not the author's fault. But on a bit of a lighter note, I appreciated seeing how these characters grew up together. We did get a little bit of that obviously in Taming 7, but seeing the dynamic, especially between Lizzie and Gibbsy, and seeing how they were as children compared to what we now know, I appreciated being able to see the friendship dynamic and what these characters have been through since being very young children. And it just helps you understand the dynamic they have as young adults and as teenagers in the other books. I just wish I could go back and read the other books for the first time, knowing what I know now about Lizzie and about what she's been through, with the understanding of why she is the way she is. Because in the other books, I've never been a Lizzie hater, but in the other books you kind of don't really like her in other people's point of views. Obviously she comes across as very bitchy and very snappy and nasty at times, but when you read her book and you understand why she is the way she is, I wish I could go back and read the others knowing what I know now, because I just feel so sad for this girl and everything she has been through, and the way some of her friends think, oh, she's so horrible, she's so nasty. They obviously don't know what she has gone through. But my biggest complaint about this book is that I wish it had picked up where Taming 7 left off but also with the background knowledge of what Lizzie's been through and about the childhood dynamic and their friendship. I just need answers. I need to know what happens after the conversation that took place at the end of Taming 7. I just wish I had a bit more closure, and we are, as far as I know, getting another Lizzie and Hughie book. Don't hold me to that. At the end of this, it does say their story's not over. Whether we will get the other book, I don't know. I don't keep up to date with a lot of authors' socials, so I don't know where we stand on whether we're getting another Boys of Tommen book. I hope we do, because I need to know what happened after that conversation. I need to know what's going to happen to these friendships, if their friends are going to understand what has happened to them. I just need answers. That is all. I need answers, and I didn't get it from this book, really. And as I said in my last update, I feel like there was just a lot of filler in this and a lot of repetitive writing about, I don't want to spoil anything, but we were going back and forth with Lizzie and Hugh about Lizzie wanting to do something and Hughie not really wanting to do it, and it was that conversation, rinse and repeat, for hundreds of pages, and I feel like this book could probably have been a little bit shorter. But I did enjoy it. I say enjoy very lightly because this is not an enjoyable book. It's very sad to read, obviously. It is not one of my favourites in the series. I've rated it 4 stars. It's hard to rate because obviously it's very sad, it's very triggering. It's not necessarily enjoyable. That's not a word I want to use. But I feel like it added a lot to the series as a whole. And finally being able to understand Lizzie and everything she's been through, I appreciate it. Anyway, I feel like that's enough said about that book. I have now started Lost and Lassoed by Lila Sage. I wasn't in the mood to pick anything up straight away because I just needed a bit of time to process releasing 10. But I need something lighthearted and fun and not dark to read for a little bit. So I've started Lost and Lassoed. I am only 3 chapters in, so no thoughts so far, but I'm excited to go into a cutesy little cowboy romance, and I will give you an update when I'm a bit further in and when I have some more opinions. I failed. Failed big time. I think the last clip I filmed, I said I was starting Lost and Lassoed, right? It's weeks later, like weeks later. I didn't read that book. In fact, I haven't read a single book since I finished releasing 10. I haven't read anything since I finished releasing 10. I fear that book did me over a little bit. I think I got maybe 30% into Lost and Lassoed, and I've just not read anything since. So I was, in fact, correct when I said this would end up being just a Boys of Tommen reading vlog. Like, I'm sorry, okay? I don't know when I'm gonna be able to get out of this slump, and I thought, I filmed the clips, like, I might as well upload it. I'm sorry if this video is not remotely enjoyable at this point. I'm going to end this video here. I'm really sorry that we didn't read any more series. No explanations other than that book put me in such a big slump. If you did enjoy this video, despite it probably being so short and not at all what I planned on filming, stick around, show some love, and I will see you when I next see you.